Welcome back to the channel, Wandering Shepherd family. Find myself here at my local Publix. We are going to be making Chinese rice, at least the way I know how to make Chinese rice. May not be the way you make Chinese rice. It's the way that I make Chinese rice. And I'll be sharing that little recipe just because, I don't know, about 6 months ago, a year ago, I was like, man, I really need to learn how to make Chinese food. I love Chinese food. I love Chinese rice. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? Instead of spending, 50, 60 bucks every time I get some Chinese food and stuff like that, why don't I just learn how to make it myself? So, Wandering Shepherd. So anyways, I'm here at my local Publix. I know up north they have things like Kroger and Whole Foods. Let me tell you, Publix beats all of that. I've been to wholesale, I've been to Kroger. If you really want the freshest, the best ingredients, Publix is the actual supermarket to be at. Mind you, it's not the most cost-effective one, but it is amazing. So anyways, here we go. So before we get started, let's just go over the ingredients that I ended up buying. Obviously, we have the actual chicken breast. I already thawed it out, somewhat defrosted it, still a little frozen. So I have to go ahead and take care of that in a minute. But then we also have some vegetables. We have the peas. We have a melody of different kinds of vegetables. I got some corn. Got some actually seasoning mix. Got my bean sprouts. Got the actual soy sauce, which I'm using something that's low sodium. Just because there's no point to having excess sodium. Got my cutting board, my knife. Got the rice. Got where I'm going to fry it at after I finish boiling it. And that right there is just because I'm thirsty. I don't know how you say that. Is it Schweppes? Schweppes? I don't know. Comment below. I like ginger ale. What can I tell you? I got my assistant Benny here. Basically, the way that I was taught to do rice, and I will tell you right now, I really stink at this, okay? I only get it right half the time, which is kind of sad. But I can cook a lot of different things. Just rice, for whatever reason, it's not one of them. You usually go a 2-to-1 ratio, 1 of rice, 2 of water. So I'm using this regular cup as a measuring tool. I'm making quite a bit just because I want to have enough so I can have some leftovers for tomorrow for both myself and my wife. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just already put in my 1 measure of rice, and I am going to be adding now 4 of these cups. Since I put 2 of these of rice, I'm going to put 4 of these for the water. Okay. That should be my 2-to-1 ratio, I should say. Got my lid here for later. Let me get my salt. I always start this thing off, and maybe this is one of my mistakes. Comment below if you want to. But I always start this thing on high just because I want this thing to really, really heat up, and then I'll lower it to a medium high. Maybe a little bit more. Then I'll lower it to a medium high. This way, I'm not here longer than I have to. Here more. Yeah, that should be good. So anyways, I'm gonna let this thing get to a boil, and I'll be right back. So while the rice is gonna get going, I told you I kind of thought out this just a little bit, and I did, but it's still somewhat frozen. So I'm gonna cut these into cubes. As of now, I am done actually now slicing up the chicken and cubing it to pieces that I think are gonna be good. I already have this thing preheated, and while that was going, the actual rice behind me got itself boiling, so I lowered the heat already down to a medium high. For the chicken, I do like cooking it in actual olive oil, just because I like to keep things a little bit lighter, a little bit healthier, versus using just vegetable oil. So it doesn't take a whole lot. All I want to do is just put enough so that way the actual pan does not stick, even though it's supposed to be a non-stick pan. But that stuff never works. So putting that in there. And now I'm going to move the chicken. Once the chicken's done, I'll put it to the side. Ooh, yeah. I'll put it to the side, and then I will also start on the vegetables. And what I like to do is I like to start the vegetables once the rice is nearly done. This way, once the rice is completely done, and I think the vegetables are pretty much done, I'll just add the rice and I just mix everything in as well. One thing that I did not mention earlier is the fact that I also like putting scrambled eggs. I like to actually put egg mixture into the actual Chinese rice, and I just now remembered that. So what I will be doing momentarily is getting a separate pan ready and getting those eggs going. Normally I would have made the actual eggs right here. No, I probably still will. I can just mix it in with the vegetables. That might work. But anyways, we'll see. But I'm going to get that going. While that is going, I'm also going to be seasoning the actual chicken steak. Good boy. I like using a citrus herb kind of mixture. Adds a little bit of citrus to it. It's really nice. Gets a nice little orange flavor. Maybe lime. It just seems to go with the whole Asian theme, so I like it. However, you season this however you like, because obviously you're making this thing to your own taste. I also am one of those people that likes a lot of seasoning, so if you see me putting more than what you would be comfortable with, that's fine. Like I said, season this however you like. I like flavor. My wife and I, we love strong, bold flavors. So we like just going to town on these things. I'm going to start mixing them up, get those seasonings all nice and mixed in and covered on all sides, nice and evenly. Also, I'm trying to prevent the chicken from burning on one side too much. Now, I'm going to try to do this thing the right way, but usually, for me at least, chicken, the way you make chicken right is not so much when you have one side being super hard. It's when it's completely cooked through, but it's still tender. Okay, so about this time, I think that I'm pretty much done with the chicken. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna check to see and make sure that it's all cooked. See this? I love it when I have a piece, one side that's slightly brown, but the overall is still very, very tender. But you have to be careful. This is chicken. You have to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. So I'm picking on one of the larger pieces, cutting it, seeing if it's cooked all the way through. No pink whatsoever. It is. Oops. So this thing is pretty much done. I've already turned off the actual power or the actual electricity to it. That way it's not gonna keep heating. However, it still has heat in here. So what I will do is I am going to cover this and just let that remaining heat in there, just keep cooking it while not overcooking it. Right now I got my eggs prepped. I got 4 eggs. Obviously, if you like more eggs in your Chinese rice, obviously make it however you like. Beautiful thing about any and all recipes is the fact that you can customize it to whatever your preference is. Meanwhile, the rice behind me, I think that I'm at the point that I can actually just cover it. Most of the water has evaporated and it's just cooking. So normally my lovely, beautiful wife is here to help me because like I told you earlier, I always mess up the rice. But she's Christmas shopping, so I am left to fend on my own devices. And that is a scary, scary thing. So at this time, what I'm doing is I've already added some of the actual bean sprouts and some of the actual broccoli and everything else that I have in here. What I'm doing right now is I'm actually cutting the ends off my green beans. Call me weird, but I don't like having the end caps. And I also don't want to have a green bean this size. So what I like to do is just cut it in half. Because for me, it's just about having something that's going to be bite-sized. One thing that I did not mention in regards to the rice is when the water had evaporated, I also lowered the actual heat. When all the water evaporated completely, I lowered the heat all the way down to low. And I covered it, like I said, just because this way the remaining moisture will finish cooking that. Mixing it up, mixing it up. At this stage, sometimes I'll add some seasoning. Sometimes I won't. It really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Since we have this seasoning mix, I won't add anything to this. I don't want to make it too overpowered. But yeah, let me just let this thing heat up. Let me check on the rice behind me. And let me get this going in a separate pan. I don't care what anybody says. The way you make some eggs is with butter. I don't care if that makes me unhealthy. I don't care what kind of comments I'm going to get on the comment section. There's only one way to make an egg. Yeah, I'll take that. If I was making breakfast, I'd also be seasoning this. You know what? Maybe one day I'll do a video on that because I like my eggs in the morning and stuff like that with, get ready, hot sauce. Yes, Lord. That is some good stuff right there. Hot sauce makes everything better. Here's another thing. In my opinion, people overcook eggs sometimes. You don't want the eggs to be hard. You also don't want them running like this either. What you want is to have a nice, soft texture without it browning. If it browns, you overcooked it. At least that's the way I was taught. That's the way I like my eggs. But to get them just right, you can't just walk away from them. You have to keep moving them. That way they can keep cooking without burning on one side or being overcooked on one side. This is just about right. This will break up real nicely in the actual rice while not being runny or gooey or stuff like that. This is just, yes. And by this time, if this is done, like I'm hoping that it is, then I will be ready to get it all going. Here we go. Ooh, that is hot. Okay, I am back. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually going to be adding the rice straight in. Yeah, it's a little stickier than I like. Darn it, I thought I did better. Whatever. It will all kind of dry up and stuff right here anyways. Shout out to my wife who always gets this right, while I do not. But it's all good. This is life. We move on. Try getting it all mixed in. Now around this step is when I'll start adding slowly but surely the actual soy sauce and the actual seasoning mix. And then I'll add the chicken and the actual egg mixture as well. Now, if I was a cheating man, I would show you the video of when I had this thing right. But then you'll notice that the ingredients are a little bit different because that video, which I show a small clip in the intro video, that came out great, but I used frozen vegetables instead of fresh vegetables. So it would show. It would be very obvious. How much soy sauce should you place in here? Honestly, depends on how much color you want to add to the actual rice itself. Now you may be thinking, hey, that looks good already. Nah, remember it's got to get mixed in. I'll probably go through the whole bottle. But let me check. Oh, let me not forget the seasoning. See, I still have some white rice coming through. That's what I'm saying. I will end up going through, more than likely, all of the actual soy sauce. Let me add a little bit more color and flavor. One of the things that is different too, usually we do this thing with long grain rice, but for whatever reason, when we went to Sam's, because we buy the big bulk, they didn't have long rice, so we had to use short grain rice, and maybe that's why it's coming out. Maybe it's supposed to make that differently. I don't know. Bet you my wife would know, but hey, she's shopping. And I promised her I would make her this. Hopefully she won't be too disappointed. Chicken is amazing though. Chicken came out great. Was this probably the best cooking video? Absolutely not. Obviously I messed up the rice. It happens. Things happen. But what it does remind me of, it reminds me of a story in the Bible, which is found in Judges chapter 6, verse 14. Here you have Gideon, which is the least expected person you would ever expect to do anything good for their family or for their tribe, for their clan, whatever you want to call it. And the Lord appears to them and says, hey, Gideon, go in this your own strength, your own might. And this is referencing the deliverance of Israel from the Midian army. But it reminds me, because of the fact that we do things in our own strength. I have whatever abilities I may have, whatever talents I may have, whatever things I study and prepare myself for. But did God know that Gideon was incapable in his own power to free an entire people from bondage? Absolutely. So why would God send someone to do something that was literally impossible for them to do and then tell them, hey, go in this your own strength? Simple. He wanted Gideon to completely exhaust his own strength so that way God could show him exactly who he was and what he could do. A lesson that could not be learned otherwise. I leave you with this, family. Remember, always do things. Always try to strive for the best that you can do. But remember, you cannot do everything. You're always going to need someone to help you through things. And that's the beautiful thing about God. He loves you. He loves me. And he wants to be there for you. He wants to have a relationship with you. Until next time, family, have a great day. God bless. What you think, babe?
What happened? It's like stuck together.
Rip.